Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you the Goodreads Tag. I was kind of sort of tagged by Shannon over at Shannon Riddler. She had tagged me a while back in another tag, but I didn't feel like I had great answers for that particular tag, so I told her that I'd do this one instead. So here we are. So I'm just going to go through the questions. I've got Goodreads and the questions up on a screen over here. So let's get started. The first question is, what is the last book you marked as read on Goodreads? So the last book I marked as read was A Terrified Teacher at Ghoul School, Volume 1. This is by Mai Tanaka. It is a manga. I am reading this I read this for my In Real Life Manga Club meeting that's happening this week. By the time you see this video, the meeting has already taken place. But this manga is about a teacher who really wants to teach, but on his first day at his teaching job, he gets bullied by the students and basically retreats from his job and stays at home for a whole year, like doing nothing. He pretty much has no spine. But he finally gets up the courage to try again and gets hired by another school. What he doesn't know is that the school that he was hired for is full of supernatural beings. So the next question is, what book are you currently reading? I don't read just one book at a time. I do have several ongoing at any one time. So I'll just tell you what's on my currently reading list right now. First of all is China Rich Girlfriend, which is the second book in the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy by Kevin Kwan. I am listening to this one on audiobook mostly, but I am reading the physical copy here and there. So far, it's pretty good. I'm about 51% in as of today. So that's the first thing that's on my currently reading list. The second one is Ouran High School Host Club Volume 7 by Bisco Hattori. This is a manga series that I am reading with my manga club. So again, we are talking about this one in the manga club meeting that I'm having this week. The third thing is Juni Tyson, Zodiac War, the light novel by Nishi Oishin. I should have been done with this one a long time ago. It's not hard reading. There are only 256 pages. I am only about 38% in, or 98 pages. I am not enjoying this one as much as I thought I would. I think it has to do with the fact that we're not following one central character. We get sections of story with different characters, and I don't think that way of storytelling in a novel format is working for me. I do have the manga of this light novel, the manga adaptation. And there is also an anime. I think after I get through the light novel, I will probably read the manga and see if that clicks better with me. But for right now, this one has been on the back burner for a while. The last thing I have on my currently reading list is Outlander Volume 1, or Number 1. This is my second time trying to read Outlander. I had joined in the read-along with Sarah from Steeped in Books. She was doing a read-along of the series. And the first time I got through this, I think I read about half. And then my life just was too busy. I couldn't devote the amount of time I needed to in order to understand what was going on in this book. Furthermore, it's kind of historical, so that type of book doesn't really work for me. But I really wanted to get into it. It's really popular. Lots of people really enjoy this series. And one of my coworkers is also reading it at the same time. But the second time around, I'm having even a harder time than I did the first time around. I've read 8% of the book, which is 73 pages, and Sarah and her group of buddy readers have already gone on to the second book, or maybe even the third. No, I think they're still on the second. But I don't know if I should just give up and just say that it's not in the cards for me, or if I should keep trying. But I don't really have a want to read this book. I think about it. I think about reading it, but I never actually pick it up. So, yeah, those are the things that are on my currently reading list right now. The next question is, what was the last book you marked as to be read? The last book I marked as to be read was Reborn as a Polar Bear, Volume 1, The Legend of How I Became a Forest Guardian by Chihiro Mishima, and art by Hoki Kusano. This is a brand new series, and the first volume in that series of manga. I bought it at the Barnes & Noble Manga Monday sale a couple weeks ago, and so when it came in, I added it to my want to read list. This one is about a climber who falls off a mountain and wakes up realizing that he's been reincarnated as a polar bear and has to protect two werewolf sisters and use his wits to navigate the dangers of the forest. I'm just pretty much reading that off of Goodreads. I did hear about this one from Otaku Mike. He did a first impressions on this volume, and because it was on the Manga Monday sale, I decided to go ahead and pick that up. So that was the last thing I marked as to be read. The next question is, what book do you plan to read next? Now this one's a hard one because I don't usually plan on reading books. I don't put together a TBR, but I have recently completed a buddy read with my friend Jody from That One Girl Who Reads, I think is her handle on Twitter, and a bunch of other new friends that I made, and we're talking about doing another buddy read soon. So whatever book we decide on for that will probably be the next book I read. As far as manga goes, the next manga I will read, obviously I said I was reading Ouran High School Host Club Volume 7. That didn't come out very well. I was reading Ouran High School Host Club Volume 7. And so when I'm done with that, I'll be reading Volume 8 because we are doing a series read of that series. And so those are the 2 volumes I need to have read by time our meeting happens. So that will be the next thing I read. The next question is, do you use the star rating system? Yes, I do. However, I kind of implement my own star rating system because Goodreads does not have half stars. I do prefer the 10-star scale. I did recently come out with a video on how I rate things and my rating system. I will link that in the cards and in the description box down below in case you're interested on how I utilize the Goodreads rating system in conjunction with my 10-star rating system. The next question is, are you doing the reading challenge? And yes, I am doing the reading challenge. I've done it for the last 6 years or so. This year, I've already adjusted my goal a couple of times because I really want to read 52 novels before 2019 is over. And I've just been reading a ton of manga this year, so those 52 novels is not making the mark. I will probably adjust my goal one more time before the year is over. I am currently sitting at 200 of 211 on my reading challenge, and I think I've only read 30 novels as of the end of August. So I will probably adjust one more time and then just leave it alone, no matter if I hit those 52 novels by time I reach my goal or not. The next question is, do you have a wish list? And I do have a wish list, but if we're talking about a wish list on Goodreads, that one is really out of date. I have not gone through that one in a while, and I know that I had put things on there that I've already acquired. I've just been really bad about updating that particular shelf. I do have an Amazon wish list, which is much easier for me to keep track of and share with relatives and friends and things like that. If you're curious to see what I am looking to add to my collection in the future, I do have it linked down in the description box below, but in no way does that mean that I want anybody to buy me any of that. That's just for curiosity's purpose. If you are interested in the things that I am looking to buy soon, those things will be listed to quench your curiosity. The next question is, what book do you plan to buy next? I don't really plan on buying books. I just usually will go into a store, peruse, and come home with whatever I fancy. This week, though, because I am having my manga club meeting, it is in one of my local Barnes & Nobles, and usually right after the meeting I will go in and put in pre-orders for any upcoming manga that's being released. I do this because the pre-order price is cheaper, so I don't pay full price for any manga volumes that I want to have in my collection. So I think right now the only one that is on my list to pre-order are going to be Haikyuu Volume 37, I think it's 37, and Kakuryu Bed and Breakfast for Spirits Volume 6, if that's not already out. I was pretty lax on my checking on releases over the last month, but those two I know definitely are on the list to pre-order. And then, of course, I will go and look around the store while I'm there, and I will purchase whatever catches my eye. So the next question is, do you have any favorite quotes, and would you like to share a few? I have one favorite quote. It is a quote that has stuck with me for a very long time. It is from the Anne of Green Gables miniseries that was done by Sullivan Entertainment. I believe it was actually in the Anne of Avonlea miniseries. The quote that I really like and has stuck with me was said by Anne, but I believe it came from Muriel Stacy. Tomorrow is always fresh with no mistakes in it. The actual quote, though, from the book is a little bit different. I have it over here on Goodreads. It's the only quote that's on my profile. And it is, "Isn't it nice to think that tomorrow is a new day with no mistakes in it yet?" It is just something that has stuck with me for a long time. And it's something that I think about a lot, especially if I'm having a bad day. I'm not really a positive person, but this quote just helps me put some positivity into the outlook, I guess, my outlook for anything, especially if I'm having a really rough day, and then I can say, okay, tomorrow is a new day, start fresh, all of this will be behind me. So yeah, that's pretty much the only quote that has stuck with me and that I think about. The next question is, do you have any favorite authors? I do have some on my Goodreads profile page. However, I do not keep this list very up to date, but I can say that the authors that are on there, I still do consider them favorites. The first one is Victoria Laurie. She is the author of the Ghost Hunter mystery series that I really loved. It's about a psychic medium and they do like ghost hunts. The next author I have there is Anne Bishop, and she is the author of the Other series, which I absolutely adore. I also have Juliet Blackwell on there, and she's the author of the Witchcraft mystery series, which is still currently publishing. I am also reading, or have started to read, her Haunted Renovation mystery series. I believe that's what it's called. Haunted Home Renovation mystery series. I have started reading that one, and I do really enjoy that one as well. Janine Frost, who is the author of the Night Huntress series, and I really enjoyed that one several years ago. She also wrote a new adult series more recently called the Broken Destiny series. It was a trilogy of books, and this one kind of ties in with my next favorite author, though I haven't read any of this person's novels. She is a rather talented, if I do say so, narrator, and I enjoy listening to her narrations a lot. She's narrated several books, including Janine Frost's Night Huntress series and the Broken Destiny trilogy, and that is Tavia Gilbert. And then I also have on there Christopher Pike, who is a very dear author to me. I have lots of memories reading his teen mysteries when I was growing up, and yeah, so those are the authors that I have on my favorite authors list right now on Goodreads. The next question is, have you joined any groups? And that is a yes, though I am probably most active in the Mystery Madness Goodreads group. You know that, well, you know if you've watched any of my March Mystery Madness videos that I have been a co-host of the March Mystery Madness Readathon that happens in March, where we read mysteries, and all of the discussions for all the prompts and the challenges and things like that go on in the Mystery Madness Goodreads group. I also run my first in a series Cozy Mystery Book Club out of that group. We are quarterly, and we read first books in Cozy Mystery series for that. And I just put up the fourth quarter selection thread the other day. So definitely check out the group if you're interested in mysteries. And I am probably 95 to 98% active in that group only. I do check in my friend Tim at World of Sleuths group. His group is called World of Sleuths. He reads more gritty mysteries, and he has been doing some read-alongs lately, so he hasn't been too well recently though, so I hope he is getting better. And but if you'd like to see what we've been reading there, definitely check his group out. And of course, Sarah's group from Steeped in Books, her group I believe is called Create Your Own Readathon, the Create Your Own Readathon group. And she's also hosting the Outlander Readathon in that group as well. Links to everything is down in the description box below if you are interested. The last question is, are there any questions you'd like to add? And no, I'm not really good at coming up with questions, but I will go with Shannon's question, which is, what do you like most and least about Goodreads? I really like seeing what people I know are reading and what they think about books, especially if those books happen to be ones that are on my radar. I especially like the end of year kind of wrap up stats that they give you at the end of December. It's nice to look back and see things that you've read through the year. And I also enjoy the fact that they have put in the reread tracker. They didn't have that for a while, at least not when I started going on Goodreads. I think that has been added in the last couple years, if I'm not mistaken. But I do like that little feature as well. As far as things that I don't like about Goodreads, obviously the fact that they're only 5 stars and I prefer a 10-star system. I don't like, and this may only be something that happens to me, but if I put a book as to read on my shelf and it's, say, a digital copy, because that's the first thing that was on there when you press the want to read. If I end up reading said book later in the future, and I am reading a different format or edition, and I am updating it on the app, so not on a computer browser, but on the Goodreads app, it adds it as a duplicate to my shelves. So I don't like that too much, and I've only noticed it recently. And there's no real way to fix it on the app. I've tried, and it keeps saying that there's an error or something. So I try to make it a point to go through my duplicates list every couple months and clean that up. But yeah, I ended up having way more books on my to-read list than I should have because of duplicates. I ended up reading a lot of the books. Well, my to-read list is huge. But I ended up reading some, and then it still kept my first entry instead of updating it. And the other thing that I don't like about that is the fact that I may have put this book on my to-read list back in 2012 when I started Goodreads, and I maybe only got to it maybe like now in 2019, for example. But because it was a different edition, it put it in as a want to read as a 2019 date. And so all of my things that I've tracked for percentages, pages read, my review, that's all under the entry for 2019 and not my entry for when I actually put the book on my to read list. And I really like to have that all be on, on the original to read tab, because then it tells me, okay, I put this book on my to read list in 2012, but I didn't read it until 2019. But the way that it's set up makes it very difficult for me to associate everything back to the original, and I've ended up having to just stick with the most current edition of read. So yeah, that's definitely something that I dislike. I try to be more cautious about the way that I mark books that I have on my to-read list as currently reading, especially if I'm on the app. When I'm doing so, I try to remember to go ahead and make those updates on a browser instead, because that is the only way that I can keep things the way I want them to be. I think those are pretty much my only gripes for Goodreads. Other than that, I really enjoy using the platform. I use it a lot. I'm pretty much on there daily, and it's nice to be able to go back and see, okay, how many times I've read a book, well, at least since they've had the reread feature, and my thoughts on it. A lot of the books that I've read up until like 2015 or so, maybe even closer to 2017, don't have written reviews on them. And so if I go and reread a book that I read back then that I may have put a rating on for, it's interesting to see like maybe if my rating changed, or I can go back and add a written review so that I can see my thoughts on the book later on. But yeah, that completes the tag. I'm not going to tag anybody because I know this is an old tag. I do believe that the original tag creator deleted their video because I did try to go look for it and I cannot find it. And she no longer makes content, at least hasn't in the last 4 years. But I'll link her down in the description box below in case you're interested in checking out any of the other videos she has on her channel. A link to Shannon's channel is also down below. I've buddy read several things with her this year. I do think of her as a really good friend, and she makes some amazing content, so definitely check her out as well. Links to the Goodreads groups mentioned are also down in the description box below in case you want to check those out. And that's all I've got for you today. I hope you're all doing great, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.